person writes, can it work between people with totally different ideologies? Yeah, but it's going to be difficult, and that's just because it's like, well, everyone has a model of the world how they think it should be. Now, if those models are completely different, there's just going to be conflicts. And so for that to work, it's like both people they might have different ideologies, but they also might need a similar, basically, ideology that's open-minded or accepting or understanding of another person's viewpoint. And if they have that and they know communication skills and they also have an understanding of how attraction works, polarities, managing space, how to communicate as far as the differences between men and women, and just knowing how to make each other feel. So it's like all that stuff can be learned, but it's like that stuff is almost always bypassed by people because it's like they don't just know it exists. Really, they don't have that awareness, and they don't know to basically work on that stuff. And so they just try to wing relationships based on their parents' guidance or how they're feeling themselves, and almost that never works because it's like, well, how they're feeling is different to how their partner needs to feel. And so understanding how your partner needs to feel is, I mean, there's no way around that in order to really have success and sustain success in relationships. So that's kind of what I'd say towards that. I've been dating a guy for a bit now. He's funny, he's smart, we have amazing chemistry. There are some red flags, and I'm proceeding with caution, but I could fall for him. Okay. And also notice that she's saying, oh, I could fall for him. So just understand that women typically do fall in love and attraction at a slower pace than men. Sometimes men just fall in love and basically picture their whole lives together, just by seeing her sometimes, especially if she's beautiful. So just be aware of that. And then where guys make mistakes is that they feel those feelings and then they think they have to act on those feelings. And then they say something like, oh, I like you, or they start planning their future together way, way too soon. It just freaks her out because just like she's not at that level yet. It's like you have to go at a pace that's much slower than you think. And that's why it's important to let her bring up her emotions towards you, meaning like, oh, that she likes you, that she loves you, that she wants to be exclusive with you. Have her hint at the marriage thing, have her hint at kids. It's just because it'll really be more like a guide to an appropriate pace or a correct pace that sustains a relationship, because it's like both of you are, well, essentially it just doesn't freak her out because you're not going too fast. Here's a problem. Last night we were talking about a picture he posted on Facebook that equates social media companies banning people for their posts, i.e. Twitter banning Trump. Okay. Under the watch of the Biden administration to the Holocaust. I was shocked and appalled as the conversation went on. Well, so it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to get into what I believe on that. But I'm going to say that it's like you have to own your opinions. And so maybe he's like pro-Trump and she's pro-Biden or whatever. If she tries to sway his opinion and say, oh, you're wrong, and he basically says, oh, yeah, you're right, and basically just changes his opinion, but he doesn't actually believe it. He's just saying that to make her feel good, thinking that'll make her feel good, and to kind of please her because he's afraid that if he has a different opinion, then she'll leave or she'll have some upset thing and he'll have to deal with that. And so he's afraid to do that. But if you basically just stay strong with your opinion, probably what you're going to encounter is short term, she's going to be upset. She's going to actually have those emotional reactions, but long term, she'll respect you more because she knows that you'll stay strong in what you believe in. And so I would say stay strong in what you believe in if that's truly what you believe in. That's not to say if, she provides some evidence that it's like actually changes your mind. It's like, okay, well, actually, I didn't see that point. And it's like, it's so obvious that you're correct. If that's the case, if she provides enough evidence that actually persuades you and it's obvious that that's actually the right decision no matter what. Politics, which might be a more complicated one, but just even maybe a change of opinion. It's like maybe like a car choice. Then it's okay to like change your opinion because it's like it's actually the better choice. But if it's just like, oh, I think this way and you think this way, it's like, well, don't change it on that. As the conversation went on, he got more defensive and then started going on about he doesn't believe in racism like it's a dogmatic religion versus the reality for millions of people in the U.S. I didn't even know how to respond. I still don't, other than to wonder if we're compatible long term with such vastly different views on the world. I'd say it probably will create more conflicts. So to navigate that, it's like there is a ratio that I've seen that it's like, well, you have to have basically one negative experience to every five positive experiences. And you need to basically be in the ratio of that between one negative and 11 positives, if that makes sense. So it's like if you are having a bunch of basically ideology differences and say you have like two negative things, maybe you have more fights than you would if you were with somebody with like the same ideologies as you. Let's say you had two negative experiences for every five. That will create an unhealthy dynamic. And what you'll see is basically there's just too much uncertainty, too much arguments, too much of the negative things in a relationship. And that often leads to failure. Now, on the other side, it's like if you're too aligned, you're too basically the same thing with everything. So it's like maybe you have one negative experience to every 15 good experiences, then it's almost like it's too dry, it's too dull, there's no spark because it's like yeah, whatever the studies show on the psychology behind that, but it's just like there's too much certainty and there needs to be some kind of variety. And so um just be aware of that ratio. It's kind of, I think I took that from Jordan Peterson a while ago from an interview I saw, but it's a useful thing to look at. Maybe just as kind of like a guide. It's sometimes difficult to kind of pinpoint as like, oh, well, keep track of every negative versus every positive. But it is kind of cool to recognize and cool to know. Under there.